Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's really an exciting time in Pompano Beach, and this downtown you're going to hear about tonight is one of the most exciting endeavors we've ever sought out to do in our 110 plus year history. Very excited that you all are here to take part in this. You're not here as a spectator. Tonight you're here to participate. These are roundtables. If you see out in front of you, there's a bunch of tables set up. There's some other things in the back of the room. It's about how you see yourself with this project. Remember, we've hired one of the best developers in the country to do this job. They can build anything we tell them to build, but they're not going to come to tell us how to build it. That's our job, and that's why you're here tonight, to get involved, see yourself, envision yourself in this project. Before I start, I want to recognize some important people in the room with us tonight. And a lot of this wouldn't be done without the folks that have served in the past and are serving right now, whether it be on city boards or as one of our commissioners' representatives at some level. So, Mayor Rex Harden, good to see you again, Rex. State Representative Patricia Williams, former state rep. There you are. I actually gave you a different title last night. I called you Senator. I apologize for that. Thanks, State Rep. Good to see you here. Former Commissioner Andrea McGee. Good to see you. And former Commissioner Ed Phillips. Ed, great to see you. We've got some folks that serve on boards here with us tonight, and these boards are really, really important for us because they're the ones who don't get much thanks, but they're complete volunteers. They spend their time, a lot of time in unusual hours. So I just want to recognize those who are in the room with us. From the P&Z board, we have Fred Stacer and Carla Coleman. Before I go on, I see our commissioner from District 4 is here. Commissioner, good to see you. Ms. Perkins, how are you? From the EDC, we have Jeff Wolf. Jeff, where are you? And from the ECRA, Fred is on the ECRA also, and Judy Miswanger. Thank you all for what you do for this city. So we're going to jump right into it. My name is Tom DeGiorgio. I am the chairman of the EDC. I've been in that position for quite a while. This is tonight's agenda. The first half, you're going to hear a lot about what the opportunities are in the downtown. The second half is where it really gets good because that's when it's interactive. That's when you participate and you get to have your input. So we have tables around the room. We'll talk a little bit more about later, but if there's a topic that you want to talk about, they're going to have professionals at each one of these tables to go ask questions. Please put it all on the table. Now's the time. If you have thoughts, if you have ideas, get it out there. That's why these folks are here. And then if you don't feel comfortable sitting at one of these tables, just go put a little tag on the back of the room. There's a bunch of boards. If something you like, if something says, you know what, I see myself here, put a little dot on the board. I'll get into that later. But this is the first half. You listen a little bit, think about the questions you want to ask. The second half is that interactive, and that's where you guys come in. So there's dates on the board that you see right here. And that slide, it's a little bit misleading to me because it looks like we just started this project in 2023. That is not true, isn't it, Commissioner Phillips? No, it's not true. I'll tell you what, we go back and we were sitting in, last night we were at the E. Pat Larkin Center. Had a very nice crowd. It was a great event. We talked about, the history when this all started. Well, I'm going to evoke E. Pat Larkin's name just for a second because in 1993, when I happened to be chairman of the Pompano Economic Group, kind of the forefront before the EDC was in existence, Pat came to me and he challenged us. He says, Tommy, everything I see happening, especially with the Chamber of Commerce, is happening on the East. Keeps happening on the East. What are we going to do? Can't we envision and imagine a real downtown that is truly in our downtown, the center of our city? And we left that meeting, and I can remember the date because I have it in writing, October 18th, Monday, 1993. We left that meeting and he called it Vision 2000. Now, like government, Vision 2000 became Vision 2020-25, but we're here. This is what we set out to do. And we got closer and closer over the years. And I remember Commissioner Phillips at the time, I asked it, let's go do a presentation at the E.Pat Larkin Center. And he welcomed me with open arms and said, let's talk about it. We went in January 12th, 2008. We had 103 people in the room. And we talked about the ideas for a downtown. We didn't come to tell what we were thinking. We talked about the group. We had a moderator by the name of Don Upton from the Fairfax group. I'll make this story quick. Bottom line of the story is we had 103 people in the room. At the end, everyone had a clicker. It was anonymous. You can vote. The question was asked, did you learn something here today? 99 out of 103 said, I did. Are you willing to participate in seeing this dream come to a reality? 103 out of 103 said they were willing to participate. Took a little bit longer than we thought again, but we're here now. We're here talking about this true downtown for our city. So we've had a bunch of meetings recently, but this goes back a long time. This seems kind of obvious, this slide. Where is the downtown? This is the downtown. It's I-95. It goes east of Dixie Highway. It goes from Atlantic Boulevard to MLK, and on the east side, it goes a little bit over where the City Hall building is today. That's what we're talking about. You're going to see a lot of pictures tonight. And those pictures are for conceptual purposes only because I want you all to think about how I fit in there. But if there's something you see and you want to see something different, talk about it. This is your meeting. This is your downtown. But these are great pictures. We can hire great architects to show us what we want, and we have a great developer that can build what we want. But this is up to you. We've got to come together to make this happen. Here's some interesting information. A lot of numbers up there. Everyone said, it's going to cost us $2 billion. No, it's not going to cost us $2 billion. That's what this project is going to be worth. It is the biggest project in the Tri-County area right now, east of I-95. That's a fact. The biggest project in the history of Pompano Beach, if it goes through, that is a fact. And it is right in our true downtown. That is a fact. We expect to spend somewhere close to a little under $200 million in public funding, and we're going to get a $2 billion project out of it. That's just direct impacts from this district, not talking about the ancillary impacts. And I want to talk about that because when the private sector spends money, okay, when the when the public sector spends their dollars, that shows the world that we're investing in ourselves. And that really spurs on the private sector development. So this national average is about 5 to 8 times of the dollar spent on yourself, us as a city spend on ourselves, we will get 5 to 8 times return from the private sector. But Pompano Beach has a history, and we can tell you our history. We've spent $45 million improving the beach, and we have $1 billion return for that. That is over 20 times from the private sector investment, from the public sector to the private sector investment. Look what we got out of that. This is private money spent. These are restaurants. These are beautiful new buildings coming into town. But what does that really do? How does that affect me? Some people said to me last night, well, I'm not going to stay at that Ritz. I'm not staying at the Waldorf, because that brings a tax base to our community. They share the burden for that tax base. That allows us to have the #1 park system in the county, number 1, 2, 3, each year. And allows us to have the cultural events that we have. Allows us to have the education that we have on a regular basis here in our city. Not the county's education, but what we do after school here. What we do with the programming that Scott and his team do. That gives us that ability when we share the tax burden without raising our taxes. That's why we want to have private sector funding. So what we're going to move on to, we're going to get right into the nuts and bolts of this. I'm going to call up New and Tran. But tonight, again, I encourage you, listen really well to what everyone's talking about. Think about your questions. Think about how you fit in, and then go get interactive and make this happen. Thank you all. Nguyen.
Thank you, Tommy. My name is Nguyen Tran. I'm the CRA director. Many of you know the East District, a very successful East District. The Northwest is very large. It's approximately 3,084 acres, so extremely large. What staff has been able to do in the past 9 months is incredible. So I'm here to talk about land acquisition. Very important because without land, you can't develop. So what we have been doing for the past 30 plus years is acquiring land. What we have been true to is the vision set by our commission, and I'm here just to implement that vision. So this is just a portion of the lands that the CRA in the Northwest owns. All the red indicates land owned by the CRA, and the blue is land owned by the city. There's a lot more lands that we do own outside of this area, but these lands were the lands included in the solicitation for the master developer to develop our new downtown. I don't know if you can see it, but the areas in yellow, right here, here, all these little yellow pieces are the lands that we have been busy acquiring for the past 9 months. We acquired 18 parcels of land in 9 months. What is important on this is that these were reasonable sellers to us. Everybody's willing to sell for a price, but these were the reasonable sellers that can help us fill in the missing pieces to make this project come to fruition from the beginning. The important part of that is that with these parcels that we've acquired, it helps keep that linear canal drainage system that you see linear. And that's very important because these will be future pads that will be developed for development. The two acquisitions that I would say we are the most proud of, we were able to negotiate two of the most nuisance properties in this area is two of the convenience stores. So we, as a CRA, own both convenience stores, the Saxon Walls and also the Quick Stop on MLK. Yeah, we've heard from the community for many years, these really bring down the community. So we were very happy that we were able to negotiate it and not go through any condemnation. So condemnation is not part of our vocabulary when it comes to acquisition. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Roca Point Partners, Danielle Handy and Phil Mays, and that's why you're here, to update on the master plan. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Handy. I'm the Government Relations and Development Manager for Roca Point Partners. It's a pleasure to be here before you to speak with you about a master plan update. As you all are aware, in June of 2024, we had a master plan contemplated for the new downtown. This master plan was really predicated on the replacement of the existing City Hall building. As we all know, the existing City Hall is currently outdated. The city has overgrown the facility. And in addition to that, the operational costs were exorbitant and are exorbitant for the facility. And so our master plan from June 2024 contemplated relocating the existing City Hall from east of Dixie to the west side of Dixie. Initially, we had viewed the western portion of the property as a really good location for this new City Hall. After we went through the acquisition process over the past 9 months, we realized that a lot of our land assemblage was really east of Northwest 6th Street. We've had a lot of success east of Northwest 6th Street in terms of the acquisitions. A lot of the holes that we had for the assemblages have come together with the success of the acquisition efforts. And as Nguyen had mentioned, very reasonable sellers. And so for that reason, we looked a little bit more closely at this master plan, and we realized really this is a great opportunity to locate the new City Hall closer to the intersection of Atlantic and Dixie Highway. And this has a lot of benefits. It's beneficial primarily because it's closer to the Northeast Transit Center, which is the bus facility. It's also beneficial because it's closer to a future commuter rail station. And also, just as far as the ease of access in and out of the facility itself, it's beneficial for that reason as well. And that really brings this topic here in terms of what is the transportation options for this entire project. We know rail is going to be here in the future. Bus opportunities, the circuit trolley. These are all ways that we can look at the traffic for this mixed use project and try to contain that as best we can. And the city's really been very proactive about a number of these traffic initiatives. They've established a multimodal task force committee. They have a city strategic plan specific to master transportation plan updates, and that's currently underway. They've had a significant amount of agency coordination all the way from the state level down to local with Broward County, the MPO, as well as FDOT. And they've also been working on a comprehensive network approach and a number of other different ways to really study the traffic and make sure that they're being proactive and understanding what we need in our future for traffic networks. This was our updated master plan showing what a new Westview could look like. Initially, we had the City Hall planned on that western end, but now we could actually have perhaps an office headquarters that's anchoring the western side of the project. Along Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, we're still seeing the same idea contemplated here, which is ground level retail, a similar level of activation to really make this roadway live up to its name. And then as far as our eastern portion of the project, this has changed a little bit, and this is actually really exciting to me. We have made it so that the anchor, being City Hall, now is going to have this entire activated green space that's nearby and adjacent to it. And these activated green spaces are actually a very great place for the community to convene with community events, live music, and various types of events. And surrounded by that, food halls, restaurants, small office spaces, those types of amenities. And really, what I love about this the most is that these city halls, they are an economic engine for redevelopment. And you may ask, why is that such a big, important component of this project? And what it is when people are going to City Hall, they're often going to go pay their taxes, or maybe they're there to talk to, planning or code enforcement or get a building permit. Well, what better than while you're visiting City Hall to be able to walk through, a project or through a new exciting area and maybe grab a bite to eat. Or maybe you need to do shopping for Mother's Day or Father's Day. Or maybe you're looking and thinking, man, that's a really cool restaurant over there that I didn't know existed. This weekend, I'm going to go over there with my family. What it really does is it brings many, many different people from the public, from different walks of life, different ages, different backgrounds, all to one area. It is a community hub. And so these city halls being an anchor, it's an incredible opportunity, and we are very excited about being the city's partner and helping them plan their new city hall. I had mentioned a moment ago the community-based activation. So in one of our other projects that we developed in Alpharetta, Georgia, we have a very significant amount of activations that are there that include things like talent shows, ladies' nights out. We have cornhole events that are weekly. We also have something that's called Kids Club, which I think is really neat. It's basically on, Wednesday mornings, mothers who have children that are looking for fun activities for their kids, like maybe arts and crafts or meeting farm animals and things like that. They have a place to go to be able to, bring their kids and be part of the community. And a lot of these events are actually funded by the private retail, by the private office, by the hotel. It's self-funded, and it's just a great way to bring the community together. Again, we have talent shows. We have a lot of different events to just engage the community. And if you're looking for a place that is, serene, a little bit of connection with parks, there's also opportunities for that as well. And with that said, I'm going to pass this on to Phil Mays, principal with Roca Point Partners. Thank you.
All right. Again, great to see everybody here. I think some folks I've seen here in the past, and so great to be with you again. And we have a real update tonight, and so I'm happy to present this part of it. Danielle talked quite a bit about the new City Hall, which would definitely be the economic driver and the anchor of this project, and a real base of an economic engine to occur in the Northwest and the new downtown. Also, with regards to our master development agreement that we have with the city for this project, it talks about us reimagining an EPAT Larkins. Now, there's obviously a possibility that certainly can stay exactly as it is, where it is, and I know the district commissioner supports that, and that can definitely be the avenue. But our contract requires us to also present other options for a new EPAT Larkins, or maybe EPAT Larkins stays where it is, and this is a different community building and becomes another anchor to this new downtown and serves the community. But in any event, we know for the Northwest, EPAT Larkins is a very, very important asset. It's the center of the community, and every year hosts many, many community events, weddings, anniversaries, birthday parties, and so on. And these are actual pictures from various events there. And these are interior pictures. There's an exterior picture there. And as we were looking at this, for a community center, and again, this could stay the way it is and where it is, but as we look at community centers, as we do them in other places around the southeastern U.S., and again, this is existing, we look at something different. And we think part of the community center is something that can bring certain benefits to the community, as well as the entire development as a whole. But obviously, a new EPAT Larkins or a new community center, if EPAT Larkins stays where it is, within a new community center allows us to do things like for the area, a sports hall of fame wall, a legacy wall, so we're honoring the history in the Northwest, and talk about heritage, cultural display, and so on. But this new community building allows the opportunity to pay homage really to the history of this area. And what we've learned from doing placemaking around the Southeast is what people really gravitate towards is some authenticity and some realness. And there's a really rich history in this area, and we think it's a great opportunity to tell it. We think a pioneer monument is very important as far as a monument or a statue welcoming people in the area. We know it's important to provide space for some vocational and potentially hospitality culinary training. We certainly hear loud and clear the workforce housing issue that's happening around really the country. A minimum here, at least a minimum, would be 15%, with a real target towards 25%. And I think that's a realistic goal. We know that things are important in the community, like a college resource center, job placement, local workforce development. The city has various plans around that we're going to be memorializing very shortly. We believe that there, on our side as a developer, there's certain benefits funding for certain nonprofits that need to be done upon the CO of these new buildings, and we're certainly working to do that. Relocation services has been interesting and not very applicable to where we are, because we haven't been out there buying apartment buildings. Really, for residential, it's just been a few houses that were very positive sales with very willing and happy sellers at the end of the day. So these are just some of the things that the new development offers in the community. Current EPAT Larkins, if it was replaced, if this wasn't just a different community building, would remain open and operational until a new one was built. The current one is about 13,000 feet. We believe at least 20,000 feet would be needed in a new community center. And obviously things like better audio visual, larger ballroom. Right now the current place is really too small for the events that would like to be held there. And obviously went over the legacy wall for Sports Hall of Fame wall. And additional space, et cetera. And I think I've probably covered those. And this is a conceptual. And again, this could be a community center building with complementary to EPAT Larkins. But we believe that there's, to get this area from being really productive for the city and not being a cost center, but being a productive center of the city, that these government buildings are really important, City Hall and a community building. And again, these are just, the way we develop buildings now, I mean, is far different than 20 or 30 years ago, or the way we design them. And we believe that, there really should be, these kind of buildings have really nice entries. This one should have one. And these are just conceptuals and examples of what's been done around the Southeast and what we've envisioned for this area. Meeting rooms really should have windows and be high quality elevated spaces for young people, for training, for tutoring, anything like that. But the spaces should be quality and not windowless and drab, really. So these are various conceptuals of this new building. I don't want to come through all these pictures. And by the way, there's a wall back here. Most of these are on the wall back there, so I don't want to spend a ton of time. But yeah, again, there could be a number of different activities occurring in these, and they do across the country in community centers. Anything from networking brunches to baby showers. There's all types of activities that occur in these community centers. And quality meeting space. There on the right's what is existing. On the left is what we envision and what we think it should be. And in any event, this brings us to where we are on the site plan map. It says current location there, so it's existing. It can stay right where it is, and we'll move on. But we have other locations where the city owns the property. There's a nice now the city owns quite a large block of property next to the Adderley Gillis Park, and there's other parcels that are along MLK that are very close to the current site that this building could be built. And as far as next steps for this building, whether it's EPAT Larkins or a different building, and this is why we're here tonight, is to talk to in these different tables and the walls about, what needs to happen here? What needs to happen for community support? That's why we want to do the engagement. We want to make sure we're listening, and most importantly, we need your feedback. And I think as Tommy DeGiorgio talked about at the beginning of this presentation, this is really your downtown. We're here, we're experts in executing and developing something like this, but it's really important for us to listen to the community and understand how the community would like it developed, and then we in turn carry that out. And I will hand it over now to Suzette Civil, City Manager, Assistant City Manager.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Suzette Civil. I'm an Assistant City Manager with the city, and I'm here to talk to you about financials and economics. So there's a lot of information out there about how the city plans to pay for this project. Is it going to cost the taxpayers money if we move forward with the project? And this slide has a lot of details on it and the sources and uses. There are really two parts of the project, and Tommy DeGiorgio talked about the $200 million investment that the city has to make. There are two parts to that. One of them is our public sector investment is putting in that linear waterway system that you see in the conceptuals as you peruse the room in a few minutes. And that's really, it's a beautiful amenity to have, but it serves a function. It's going to serve as drainage for all of those uses that are going to be built into the downtown eventually. And so that's one part of it. The other part of it is the civic buildings that you've heard discussed this evening. One is a new city hall building. And we talked about earlier the need for a new city hall. One, we've outgrown the existing facility, and we've grown as a city over the years. We've hired individuals at the city to work for us. Some departments are in trailers right now because we just didn't have the capacity for them at City Hall. So it's a very decentralized facility as well. It doesn't serve the public well. You come into City Hall, you have to get on an elevator to go get a building permit. So we really want to put a nod to the community and how we ultimately designed this facility. But also important is to anchor the new downtown project. And I won't get into that in detail already because Danielle already covered that with you a few minutes ago, so it's very important. But this slide also has a lot of numbers on it in terms of the sources and uses. There is a brochure at the Money and Finance table, and I can certainly get into details with you in a few minutes. But I think this really is a better slide. It breaks it down a little bit better for you. So let me get into that right now. So in the beginning of the presentation, Tommy talked about the core downtown area between Dixie Highway and I-95 and Atlantic Boulevard and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. So that area today generates little to no taxes for the city. Also, your tax dollars are currently being paid to service that area because the area has a lot of challenges. Today, you'll hear members of the community come to the commission meetings month after month, and they complain about gun violence, drugs, prostitution in the community, illegal dumping, code compliance, and homeless issues. Now, the city, it's not that we haven't tried, right? We've hired additional core deputies and zone deputies through BSO. We've hired outreach deputies for the homeless. So it's not like we haven't tried to put your taxes to work to address these challenges. The problem is we're not seeing a great significant return on that investment. And the reason really is because there are a lot of underlying socioeconomic issues that impact right, those drivers in the city today, because there are not a lot of opportunities in the area for jobs, right? And you have a lot of kids coming out of high school, they don't have a path to employment, or they're in jobs where they don't have a good living wage, right? So what we're looking for with this downtown is to uplift that community, provide economic opportunities in the city, provide job training to get people employed in the jobs that ultimately are going to end up in the downtown. And we're going to have construction jobs, we're going to have permanent jobs, whether it's for the hotel, the restaurants, the office space that's going to be here, the retail. So the idea is, because this is a long-term project, it's certainly going to start breaking ground if we get all the approvals we need over the next few weeks, and we'll start to break ground in a few years, in 2 years. But all of these uses are going to come up over time. So we have time to really get our community ready to take part and participate in all of the economic opportunities that this project has to offer. So we talked about our $200 million investment. It's a $2 billion project. Again, I'm going to say it again. We are not paying $2 billion to build this project. That is some misinformation that I've heard on social media out in the public. We're not spending $2 billion. Our portion of that investment is $200 million. I just talked about it. The infrastructure for the waterway system and the roadways, and then the new civic buildings that we discussed before. But again, when we talk about return on investment, that's what ROI stands for. Tommy talked about it beautifully. We have a great track record as a city of investing our public dollars and getting over a 20% return on those dollars, right? So that's what we're looking to do here again. We want this private sector to come in, and they're going to put in $1.8 billion of that $2 billion investment at build out. Another thing I hear a lot talked about is, oh my gosh, the city has all this debt already. You're about to issue new debt. You're going over the cliff. This is horrible. I can assure you, the majority of the debt that the city has outstanding today are the general obligation bonds. Now, in 2018, the voters in the city, almost 70% of the voters who came out to the polls, voted and told the city, yes, I want you to issue this debt because I want these 25 improvement projects to happen in the city. We had not issued debt in the city since 1992, when we issued the general obligation bonds back in 2018. And again, that was $181 million investing in our city, right? Prior to that, we had aging roads. We didn't have new fire stations, even though we had grown in capacity over the years. And a lot of that growth happened from an annexation between 2000 and 2005. It's not necessarily all the development you saw today. We had grown as a population, and we had just failed to keep up and invest in our fire stations or pier. We replaced our pier. We made all these great park improvements in the city for you as residents. So our return on that, again, is you saw that private investment coming in, right, into the city. But more importantly, we enhanced your quality of life. At least I hope you think we did. Because when you enjoy that beautiful pier on the weekends, I want you to think about, we issued bonds so that you could enjoy that great pier today, and you didn't have to wait for us to save up over 10 years to bring in the funding we need to get that pier done. So we do issue debt sometimes. We think we do it responsibly. There's a process involved. There are experts involved in reviewing the plans when we go to issue debt. And not only that, when you go to borrow money for a house, as an example, right? You have a credit score, they run your credit score. The city has a credit score as well, and many of you may not know that. We go through a pretty detailed credit review process when we go to issue money. So they review our financial plans, they make sure that it makes sense, that we have a good sound plan to repay that obligation. So again, there are a lot of guardrails when the city issues debt. Now, the great thing about this downtown, though, is yes, we do have to issue debt, right? We have to raise the $200 million, and we're going to borrow the money, right? But we have a great financial plan to pay this back. And unlike the general obligation bond, where we came to you and say, can we put a tax assessment on your tax bill for pay for these 25 projects? We're not going to do that with this project. We're going to have the private sector come in. We're going to sell them all the land that you see. The CRA owns all that land you saw on that land acquisition map. That's what we tasked Roca Point with doing. They're going to go out and they're going to find people to buy all of those pads. And they're going to get these people to come and build your hotel, your office use, your residential, your retail. And once those go vertical, so we get the proceeds from the land sale, but once they get on the tax rolls, that's new taxes that are generated from this project, not your existing taxes. We're not raising your taxes to pay for these new civic buildings, right? This downtown is going to be self-funded, and it's going to completely pay for this project, and we're confident that it will be successful because we've had the experts at the table to add credibility to that process. And again, when we go to borrow the money, those credit rating agencies are going to look at that plan, and they're going to tell us, if we can't issue the debt, they're going to say, you don't have a great plan. But I guarantee you we're going to be successful in that respect. So when we talk about return on investment for the downtown, right, like Tommy talked about earlier, we're putting in 200 million again. We have to borrow it. There's interest on it, just like when you borrow to buy a house, right? You're going to pay back interest over the time, 30 years usually on a typical mortgage. We finance things over 30 years too as well. But again, you get to enjoy the benefits of that today. We don't want you to have to wait 10 years for us to do something and save up money, right? You deserve for your quality of life to be enhanced today, and debt is a responsible way of doing that. Let's see, the other benefits from the project, and I'll get into another slide in a minute. So, obviously we talked about the way to pay for the project, but more importantly, we talked about the challenges in the area today. So the number of jobs that this project will create are exponential. So we're talking about temporary jobs for construction, right? And we're talking about permanent jobs once all these uses come online. And we want our residents to be first in line to get employed, and particularly the residents in the area, right? We understand that the community is concerned about not seeing themselves in this project and not having inclusion in those economic opportunities. We are going to ensure that we work with the community to make sure that they're at the front of the line to take advantage of those opportunities as they start to come online over the next 10 years. And we're going to enhance quality of life. Danielle talked about activation, right? One of the problems with the area right now is a lot of it's vacant. There's no activation. And when you have vacant area with no activation, it attracts bad elements, right? It attracts a lot of crime. It attracts the homeless. Let's activate that area, create great areas for you and your family to enjoy on the weekends, have musical events and other things of that nature. So, and the great thing about this project is long after we've paid off any debt, and the debt's not going to use up all the money coming in from the plot, we're going to have lots of money left over for great programs and services to uplift the community. We do have some tables in the back. So we wanted to demonstrate to the community that we're serious. When we're saying that we want you to take advantage of the jobs that are going to be created, let us know today. Is there, maybe you don't have you're interested in a construction job and you work in that field today. But maybe you don't have the trade right now and you want to understand how you can get some training, because there'll be time to get you ready for this project, right? It's a 10-year project. Things are going to come in phase. Let's figure out how we can work together. We'll collect your information. We'll work through the city commission to see if we can bring programs forward as part of this project to ensure there's upward mobility and that people have a chance to participate. The same for small business participation. Maybe you have a business today and you want to take it to the next level, right? Let's talk about a business incubator program where it can bring resources to the table to help you to get to the next level, to find a place in the downtown. Now, maybe you can't afford a large rent for a large building, right? Let's figure out a way where we can have smaller spaces. They have these things called beauty suites right now, right? Where you go in there and the guy with the barber chair has a small space. He doesn't need much. He has his chair. People come in and get their hair cut. That way you're sharing the overhead for a larger facility with many users in the space. And you can also do that with food and beverage facilities as well. So I think that's a great way for people who see themselves there to make it a little bit more affordable to get themselves and have a business in the downtown. And again, let's create resources today to help you get to that point if you're not quite ready for that next level. Nonprofits, we've heard a lot from the community. Is there room at the table for nonprofits, right? We certainly work with a lot of larger nonprofits here at the city because we try to get grant money, and sometimes that's the path to get there. But nonprofits, they have a lot of resources to uplift the community, right? They provide small business development services. They provide job training skills. They help you to know how to interview for a job and things like that. So let's work together with the local nonprofits because we fully believe they have a place at the table as well. So there are a lot of forms out there to sign up. So please, once we're done with the presentation, make your way to one of the tables. And if you see yourself in the downtown, sign up. We collect your information and we will get that done. Also, if you own a business and you're not in the downtown, there are going to be opportunities for you to provide goods and services to the business in the downtown as well. So I want you to see you having a part in benefiting from this downtown, right? Whether it's providing pressure cleaning services or security services or food or something for a restaurant. There's a place for everyone in this downtown. Last week, I already talked about the incubator program, so I think that's it for me. And please stop by my table, money and financing, if you won't have any more detailed questions at the end of the presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to Sarika.
Good evening. All right, my name is Serica Peterson, and I am part of Lotus Mindset. I'm gonna give you a bit of story about me before I move on here. I'm from the Northwest. We call it Exit 36. How many of you all heard that, Exit 36? Y'all ain't heard that, but it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing, and it's from my community. It's something we're very proud of, and I'm a product of that community. So, Lotus Mindset. Lotus Mindset. Who are we? I'm Serica Peterson. We have Aisha Alayande, Mona Lisa Weber, and Candace Witherspoon. We specialize in community engagement and outreach. We have been doing this in communities throughout the state for over 15 years. I got involved in my community 10 years ago with this downtown project. I remember the first meeting I showed up to, I didn't know what these people were talking about, but I know it was the Urban Land Institute talking about what could possibly be in the Northwest District. I got curious because I got mad first. In all honesty, I got mad, and then I got educated. I started learning about development and how and where I fit in. But what brought me to the table, people, is poetry. I'm a poet. And when I came back, I didn't see anything that could help me grow. When we go off to college, we come back, we want to know what is going to help us be better. I was the artist. I didn't see anything that could help me grow. Lotus Mindset is a company that we have worked with communities to help bring out the best in them, even in the worst of conditions. So I asked myself when I first got involved, like, where do I see myself in these developments? And at first, I couldn't see myself. Honestly, I just couldn't see it. When I started to get involved in development and learn how development works and the master plans and the time it takes and the patience it takes and the investment it takes, I realized that I had to show up in the room and learn. So I started going to commission meetings. At that time, Mr. Ed Phillips was the commissioner, and then Commissioner Perkins took over. But I got involved, and no matter who sat in that seat, I stayed involved. But 7 years prior to that, I created what is called the Wheel of Economic Opportunity. I thought about everything my community didn't have when I came back that could help me grow. Because of that, I say, well, hey, if this is everything I want to see in my community, then I can see myself here. Because this is that. Technology, money and finance, real estate, wellness, public realm, historic preservation, education, Gen Z and beyond, but I saw myself in culture. So culture is leading me to all these other areas through development. When I talk about culture in my community, I say names like Esther Roll. I say names like Blanche General Ely. I say names, whether you like them or not, Kodak Black, Lamar Jackson. I say these names because this is a part of my culture. And one day people are going to say Serica, because I'm also part of Pompano's culture. My job with having this rich history and culture in the Northwest District when development shows up in my community is to preserve it. It is to protect it. It is to profit off of it, because the reason people go to Atlanta is the culture. The reason people go to Houston is the culture. It is my responsibility to protect it, to preserve it, and profit in perpetuity. That requires me to get educated about generational wealth. That required me to look at this project 50 years ahead and how it affects my children and my grandchildren. Just by coming into this project through poetry and culture. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the opportunity, because when an investment like this comes into our community as a creative, I'm not the smartest or the brightest on my team, but I'm the most creative. So I know I'm going to figure out how to make some money. I want to say this. I do not speak for everybody in the Northwest community. I'm speaking for myself, my children, and the people who listen to me. And the people who listen to me hear me quite often when I say that we have the best culture in South Florida. We've been hidden for a long time, but Exit 36 and the culture we have there is rich and is profitable. So when this project comes in, I want the private investors that are coming to know that, hey, the creative and cultural community here, we're ready for this investment. Come spend your money here because we got a couple things you can do with it. And because of that, that's why I see culture in the restaurants. I see culture in the activated green spaces, in the food hall, in the small offices. I see culture in all of this because culture is why you go wherever you go. You want to get to know the people there. You want to involve in the culture. You're not going for the buildings. These buildings gonna look nice, but you're going for the culture, the food, the experience, the dance. Culture is why the Jazz Fest is on the beach and is so successful. You guys love that culture. It's good. It feels good, and we need to have more of it. So how do you get involved to keep culture here thriving? Attend community meetings, neighborhood conversations, support local businesses and organizations to build economic strength, support local businesses. And I've been saying this, I have my friends here on the east side. We've been moving on up since the Jefferson. I have my friends, I tell them all the time, y'all come over there because we got some good food over there. We got good people over there. I'm always coming over here. I like to sit on, my friend, she's on the intercoastal, and I sit out there and drink. I'm like, this nice, but my community nice too. And she comes over, and this project has an opportunity to do what art is the only thing part of this wheel that does, and that's bring people together. So I'm excited about this. The next steps, sign up for updates, city initiatives, follow us on social media for news and opportunity, and join a local committee. Listen, this is our opportunity. Let's build it together. I'm gonna bring back up Tommy DeGiorgio, and he's gonna let you guys know what your next steps are.
That was phenomenal. Thank you, Serica. And thank you, everybody that spoke tonight. If you guys aren't excited, I don't know what to say. I'm super excited about the opportunity. It's not about the plan, it's the opportunity. I want you guys to embrace it. And I think that the most powerful thing that Serica said tonight is, where do you see yourself in this project? Think about that. Seriously think about that. Where do you see yourself? Can you see yourself on a Sunday afternoon, beautiful day, sitting out there at one of the restaurants? Can you see yourself maybe in a new startup in one of the incubators? Where do you see yourself? Think about it. And that's what you're going to talk about next. You need to come down, learn even more, get the one-on-ones with the folks that are here talking tonight. They're here for you. You're not here for them. Remember that. You guys, challenge them. Ask them the hard questions. But picture yourself while you're doing it. This is my downtown. It's not east. It's not west. As we said earlier, this crosses Dixie Highway. It's really, really exciting to create a true downtown. Here's the meeting timeline. A lot of things got to happen before we get to May 14th, but you're going to get notices. You're going to hear about it. You're going to learn a little bit tonight, and you're going to continue to learn some more. Ask the questions. Challenge your electeds, but get behind it. May 14th is the big date. That's when it's a go, no go. Got to be there. So the bottom line is, tonight, you're going to have the opportunity to take part. So I'm going to emphasize one more time. This is not directed at you. This is for you, by you. Come up here, sit at the tables, ask the questions. Go put your name on the board where you see your little dots over there, where you see yourself, and just sign up to get involved. I can't emphasize enough, you can see my passion, enthusiasm for this, but it's because I've seen it all over the country. My office is in Atlanta, Georgia. It's not here. I'm a volunteer. I love this city. I believe in this city, and I think the opportunity that we have here is second to none in the state of Florida right now, 2025. Let's seize the day, let's make it happen, but please embrace it for yourselves. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
I thought it was very professional. I thought it was very informative. There was a lot of good information dispersed, and I think that the building is going to be beautiful. I mean, the layout looks good, and it's going to be a really, really nice looking property once it's all done. The project's on a good footing, and I think it's going to be a great project once it gets started.
I thought it was good. I like where do you see yourself? So I'm excited to see where it's going to go, and hopefully the community could get on board, merging the two minds together, which is what they were doing here today, but it's very, very exciting. Why can't we have the better neighborhood? I'm from PG County. It's the richest Black community in Maryland, and we can be that. We can bring businesses, and we can enjoy cafes and green spaces in our community, but we have to be open to change. So I think everyone should come out, be involved, and voice their opinion, but not with a negative mindset. Be open-minded and work with them to get the community that you envision yourself living. I want to see what I see in the rendering on the screen.
If you see the opportunities for everyone who's going to get jobs out of all these opportunities, that's amazing. I mean, where you see that, they're gonna just ask for the people in the community to go show them their talent. Let's build this community together and make our city a destination.
It's the survival of the city and the surrounding areas, and especially they're talking about the northwest portion of Pompano. That will also help boost businesses and property values in the northwest portion of Pompano. I'm all for it. I am all for it. And I am all for them moving the EPAT Larkin Center. They need a new center.